everyone. Let's please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, this evening, a couple of open remarks. First of all, I'd like to thank all the residents that participated in the townwide cleanup day on Saturday. Thank you very much. Town is looking great. I'd also like to ask people to try and refrain from littering so we don't have to be out there picking it up. Second, we are still looking for volunteers for boards. We've just recently received a resignation from the Zoning Board of Adjustments from Edwin Somero, who's been a dedicated steward on the zoning board. So we need to fill that with the members and alternates. The Heritage Commission, who is looking for members and alternates. And our repeated request is for additional volunteers for town gardening to help spruce up some areas of town with some flowers. I understood from our state rep that he had 2 volunteers that were going to come into the office for that, but we could certainly use more. So please consider volunteering. Next thing we have on the agenda is the opening of the bids for the paving of the roads for 2019. 2, 3, 4 bids. Pass one down. Pass the other one down. And just so that I can get this in the right order before we open them. Let's see. Paving bids. Bert, would you open that one?
I have R&D
First.
Paving, Inc. for bid number 19-01. Paving. And on to proposal, we have, what do you want, prices?
Yes.
Okay, we have asphalt will be fixed price per job, price per ton in place is $67.25. Price per ton without riprap in place is $71.75. Reclaiming and grading per square yard.
Bert, I'm gonna have to ask you to slow down. I'm gonna try and write this down.
Okay,
Okay, for what was the first price you had there?
okay, price per ton in place, $67.25.
And that's with wrap or without?
No, there's a second price for the, it's price per ton without riprap in place, $71.75.
No, that's with wrap.
Yeah.
Well, it says without,
That says without.
Should be the other way around.
says without.
Can I see that a second, please?
The higher price should be without that.
It should be, but
Yeah, the higher
Price
price,
per ton.
the higher price is without.
Right.
Yeah, so the first one, 67. Let me just. What's the second? Reclaiming and grading. Pricing is 71.75. I'm just gonna combine these two, so we're,
$1.32.
You guys are gonna read those out.
They,
loud.
they.
Yeah.
do.
Yes.
Yeah, they will be
I mean,
ready
it's
to
one thing
the
to open them publicly
Yeah,
and just
yeah.
go,
Yeah. No, so we have,
you didn't really wanna know what they
Yeah.
were, did
Well, I was
you?
gonna say, you open them publicly.
Yeah.
like-
so, price per ton in place was $67.25. Price per ton without wrap in place, $71.75. Reclaiming and grading per square yard, they have this number split, so we have combined it. Reclaiming at 0.70, fine grading compacting 0.62, so we have that as $1.32 per square yard. Fire department parking lot at $22,708. Highway department pad at $8,820 for a total cost of $722,902.07.
Could you read that total one more time, please? I'm sorry, 722?
722,902.07.
I need that back one second.
Yeah,
Let me
All
just
I-
put it
all I
in the
need
envelope.
is
but
the,
he needs a number.
pad number.
Sorry.
Pad
8808.
8820.
8820.
Okay. This one is from Brock's Industries Incorporated. Price per ton in place, $65.99.
Yep.
Price per ton without wrap, $74.95.
There you go. Can you give me that last one again?
$74.95.
Okay.
Reclaiming and grading per square yard, $1.24.
Okay.
Fire department parking lot, $16,445.
Okay.
Highway department pad, $9,195.
Okay.
Total?
The total was not finished out. The total was only done with the, all they totaled was the fire department and parking pad. They did not total the square footage of everything else, or square yardage, I should say.
The other proposal we have here is from PJ Keating. Yep. Okay, the price from PJ Keating with wrap is $68.85 per ton and $73.35 without wrap. $68.85. The reclaiming and grading is $1.50. The fire department lot is $21,230. And the pad is 15,575. And they have a total $741,218.95.
Can you read that one more time, I'm sorry?
Sure. The whole thing, or certain?
No, just the total.
The total? Their total is 741,218.95.
And then we have a proposal from Advanced Excavating and Paving LLC.
Okay.
Price per ton in place, $74.80. 74.80.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay. Price ton without wrap, $98.80.
Okay.
Reclaiming and grading, $1.40.
Okay.
Fire department lot, $24,780.
Okay.
Highway department pad, $14,940. For a total cost of $798,747.
In my view on here, if I'm looking at it right, looks like Brock's is will be the low bid. At $65.99 with wrap, $1.24 a square yard for the reclaiming, grading, and compacting, $16,445 for the fire department lot, and $9,195 for the highway pad. Peter, do you remember what we budgeted on the fire department? Yeah, okay. These, just for those of you, just so you understand, the road work is funded through a warrant article. The pad for the highway is via our block grant, and then the fire department parking lot is something that has been budgeted. We'll just have to make sure all the numbers work. But, I'm just curious how this works out with that unit cost on doing the roads. Do you know if that works out?
I'll have to see what, wow, we only have
Do you have the tally in the bid form?
tally of,
What you had for the total?
no,
No?
well, I think some of those numbers that we got, 741,000, that's more than
Yeah.
warrant articles,
Yeah.
so we'll have to see.
Well, if you, I'm just looking here on the back of the form.
Yeah, we may have to scale down on some of those, just put base in instead of base and top. When you look at the total square yardage,
Yeah. On Appleton, you had 17,463, which is base and top. And then on Ken and Gibbs, which is base and top, we had 3643 plus 8112. It's 29,218. And if we multiply that times $67.23. Right, those two numbers.
Okay.
It's totally wrong. 463 plus 3643. Oh, these are square yards, not tonnage.
Yeah.
Here's the problem. Okay. We'll have to back into it to determine how much paving we can get done. So, is there a representative from Brock's here this evening? Okay. So, okay.
May I ask a question?
Mhm.
Is it permissible?
Sure.
You have a whole stack of forms that you sent out for responses on creating a safety zone with fire department and police.
All right, hang on.
It's in the agenda.
We have an agenda. Okay, if you have a question on the paving for the roads, we'd be more than happy to entertain.
It kind of was, but I'll hold on.
Okay. We have them all, so I'll make file complete. Did you get those numbers?
Yeah.
Okay, you wanna run those and see where we fall?
Well, right now, your total tonnage is 12,600 is what we're looking at.
That's what you got for a total? Is that just roads?
Yes. That's nothing, don't do anything with the parking. lot.
Okay, right. I should have saved that. Give me that tonnage again.
12,600.
Pete, are you going off this sheet right?
Now, I got a spreadsheet.
Oh, so there's more than on the sheet?
Well, that's just what I'm looking at right at the moment. I'll have to go back and,
Why did you come up with less tonnage?
Well, on the bid sheet that actually went out to everybody, it was 9,635.
see, right now, we're looking at,
You can add up those numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Did you already add those up?
Yes, 9,637 tons, 9637.
Yeah,
That's what's on the
9637.
bid sheet.
That's what's on the sheet.
965,
960.
Yeah, if you add them up.
Yeah.
Times. We still won't be able to do it all.
The reclaim like 27,000.
We're gonna be about 48 over. Get down, go to that last page.
No, 2 and 2, sir.
Okay,
the lower Ashby will probably cut some out.
yeah,
I thought we were just throwing top on Lower Ashby, because it was just finishing what was there. I didn't know we were reclaiming it.
no,
I
there
thought we
was
were
a
just.
section,
The section that, the first section that, from River Road to Whittemore Hill Road hasn't been done yet.
Nothing. Okay, I thought, that was my
Wow,
misunderstanding. I thought, it was my misunderstanding. I thought that it had been based and never topped.
The upper end has, but the bottom end hasn't. Plans are
Oh.
base the bottom half, and make sure we do top,
See,
the whole thing.
I just thought we were finishing the far end, like topping the far end. I didn't know we were doing anything on the front side of it.
that may be one we,
We might have to wait.
yeah. So Peter, could you put together just a synopsis of what we can get done and also where the other
Maybe
two?
just text me what you got for numbers.
Sure.
Make sure I get.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen, for
Thank you.
submitting a bid proposal.
Thank you so
We
much.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Although that $98 one I didn't like. Is he here?
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you so much.
Mr.
Smith.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
I'm the better Smith. So I have a couple minutes to speak.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you for letting me come and address an issue with all of you. What I'd like to talk about is considering a zoning ordinance, either strengthening it or putting one together for the commons. I'm a resident of Bank Village. I live on 124 River Road, and I have a common essentially right outside my parlor window, which is nice American flag there. Gives a nice sense of touch. The issue is that about 2-3 weeks ago, someone decided that that was such a nice place, might as well park a vehicle there and offer it up for sale. And it stayed there for about 3 days, and several of the residents and I had discussed, like, what gives? This just doesn't seem right. It wasn't registered, it was for sale, and it was on what I would think is town property. I became a little bit incensed, you might say. I called the police department and put in a complaint that I didn't think this was right. The lady at the desk shared with me that the chief felt differently and explained why, and I said that I would like to speak to the chief and share my concern. My concern really stems from 3 things, really, but essentially after talking to the chief, he told me there was no regulatory guidance that prohibited an individual from parking a privately owned vehicle on town property and offering it up for sale. That vehicle was less than 70 feet away from my front window. And so that's what caused me to become a little bit incensed. I shared with the chief that I thought it offered a very bad precedent, that if I wanted, I could put an 18-wheeler out there and offer it up for sale, and who cares, right? I can tell you I wasn't the only one who didn't care about this. I didn't feel that it was legal, though I didn't have any of the words in front of me telling me it was legal or not legal. It just, you might say it sort of smelled wrong. It just didn't seem right at all. The other issue is that I was concerned about safety. River Road, at least where I'm at, is almost like a drag strip. Yesterday I was at the Peterborough Mahadnock Center, and I had my physical. They give you the list of 5 or 6 things of what troubles you. Are you under distress? Do you want to kill yourself? Do you want to jump off a bridge and everything? And I told them, I said that the one thing that bothers me the most is that I'm going to get killed in front of my home. There is literally every day, and it just happened 45 minutes ago, there is a reckless driver. It just happens. The speed limit through there is 30 miles an hour. People drive through there at least twice that speed. I have called the police on several occasions and voiced my concern. One time a guy drove by, he was going so fast I couldn't even get his license plate. So there are people that run down that road, walk down that road. There's a lady that brings a horse down that road, and all of them, we've chatted, at least on some occasions, and they're all fearful. So I think that having that common, not under some sort of regulatory guidance that prohibits putting private motor vehicles, lawnmowers, whatever, out on a common and offering them for sale is just not the right way to go. I know that we're all concerned about the appearance. You mentioned litter earlier. I was with you last night looking at some other buildings. It sends a very, very bad message. There's other places to go. So that's my bottom line. If you would like me to write this up, I'd be more than glad to, but I just want to make you aware of it, and I'd like to see something done if possible about it.
Thank you for coming in and sharing that. I'll speak with the chief. I can't believe we don't have, that there isn't an RSA that prevents people from parking on public lawns, because that would mean they could fill up Memorial Field with vehicles, which I don't think is practical or legal. And as far as the speeding traffic, I mentioned that to him, but I think we all will recognize there's speeding traffic everywhere. But we'll try to get that addressed.
Okay,
Okay?
all right, thank you
Very
very
good.
much.
No need to write it up.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm with David. I'm also surprised there's nothing stopping, from parking a private vehicle on public land for sale, or just for parking it there, for something other than a special event. So.
Am I understand? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. So I agree with David wholeheartedly that we should double check that and then see what can be done.
My understanding was the chief did contact the owner to have it removed.
He did. He was very gracious, to be very honest with you.
Excuse me.
My neighbor and I were out front of my home where the vehicle was, and the chief drove down. And so, in the middle of a rainstorm, we had a chat, and, so we had a good face-to-face. And then as soon as he left, he went down the street and stopped somebody for speeding. So, but again, it's a threefold issue there. It's really, it sets a bad precedent. To me, it's illegal, and just the area itself, if it went ungoverned, if we had an event that was out there, little kids running around and all, it's just not a good place to.
But that's everywhere in town.
I understand.
Okay.
But those are concerns all kind of bundled up in the.
Okay.
Yeah.
Always feel free to vent them.
That's
We
why-
will listen and do our best.
That's why I'm here, and that's
Yeah.
why I'm trying to help the
Yeah.
town as well.
Thank you.
Mm.
Did you need us, Brennan?
No.
Okay, thank you for coming.
Just waiting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Boyan, you're on the agenda this evening.
We are, that's what I find it. By the way, did you gentlemen receive a copy of the request for more information from DES regarding the culverts, the culvert on Timbertop?
You should have asked that before he left.
I'm talking about you guys. I know Peter did, he got a copy, it was addressed to him.
Well, we probably got the same thing.
Okay.
Yep.
Because there was some discussion about whether the culvert was undersized, oversized, or whatever.
All they did was replace it in kind with what was there.
Who say?
DPW.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That's what I heard, sure.
Conservation, we heard that you wanted to go and start testing wells in the Center Village District.
Well, actually, we want to test groundwater.
And by testing the groundwater via the wells, I'm
Right,
assuming.
that is
Okay.
correct.
And the board was wondering why the purview of the Conservation Commission is to go and expend the town's money to be testing groundwater out there. After review of what the RSA indicates for Conservation Commission, it didn't seem to be in line.
Okay, it's a good question. In fact, Bert asked the question, and I went and researched it again. I spoke to Sandy Crystal, she's in the groundwater bureau at DES. And I asked her, do you think it's appropriate for conservation commissions to test groundwater? And she said, well, that's right in your wheelhouse, that's what your charter is. You're supposed to protect the resources. The only way you can protect them is to monitor the resources to know what the state is, otherwise you're guessing. So I then contacted Stephen Buckley, who is the New Hampshire Municipal Association, you probably know him. And I asked him the same question, he says, of course you can, and he was adamant about it. He says, there's no doubt about that, he's been through this before. So I felt confident that we had the authority and responsibility to test the groundwater.
But why is it that you test the groundwater in the Center Village District and not throughout town?
If you got more money, I'll be glad to do the whole town.
But wasn't that area tested?
About 25 years ago.
No, last year,
What? No, that was MTBEs,
correct.
but that's a whole different test. Nothing to do with,
But the people were asked if they wanted to spend the extra couple bucks out of their own pocket and test their groundwater.
that is correct. And we were unable to get copies of those tests because they were not paid for by the town, they were paid for by private individuals, which is why we want to pay to have the water tested using their wells, then we can get the results and see what the impact has been over the past 25 years.
And how will you know what, because you have test results from 25 years ago?
Yes, we have test results from 25 years ago.
The Conservation Commission or the state?
Conservation Commission.
Okay, so what about the testing that was done by the Nashua watershed a few years ago when corrective measures were taken to keep road salts from getting into the brook?
Which brook was that now?
Furnace Brook, down by the park where they installed the.
That was probably the Souhegan River Association.
That's the one,
That
yes,
dealt with it,
yep.
that's correct. We were not involved in
The town was though.
that, not that I'm aware of. Not that I'm aware of. They may have tested in the town.
No, because the town had to do work in kind with what they were doing.
Well, if it was a town, it might have been something to do with Furnace Brook itself, and I think there was some remediation funds available, and they were targeted for that, and the commission was not involved in that whatsoever. You were doing things like putting storm drains in ditches and stuff like that, if I remember. It's the best I can remember. We weren't involved in it at all, so I don't really have a lot of.
Now, wouldn't that be something that the Conservation Commission should have been involved with?
Absolutely, positively, absolutely. But those funds come in to remediate that, and the selectmen decided that they wanted to have those funds to control the way they wanted. And that's what happened at that time. So we weren't involved even on the peripheral edge of it, for sure.
And why not? Do you know? You knew it was happening?
As I said, there were funds available, okay, quite a few dollars in funds available, and I guess it was a political thing. I guess that someone felt they wanted to have control of the funds so they could do certain things that needed to be done, which may or may not have been directly related to Furnace Brook. I don't know. Again, I have little information. I would love to have had the commission involved because Furnace Brook is a key brook in town, but we were not involved.
And one last question from my partner, what the other gentleman
Sure.
asked questions.
Sure.
When you were speaking with DES and the municipal association.
Steve Buckley.
Steve
yes.
Buckley, did
Yes.
they understand that the town does not have a public water supply?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, a lot of towns in New Hampshire don't have public water supplies.
But many do, and that's why the aquifers that they draw from,
Yeah.
I could see the application of protecting that aquifer. But where the town of New Ipswich is widespread, why it was concentrating in one area is,
Well, the reason we concentrated in that area was, first of all, the density of the housing. Very dense, very small lots. The people who live there, the drinking water supply is very close to the septic system because they have small lots. You also have a major stratified drift aquifer under that section of town. And you also have 3 wetlands concentrated right there at the intersection of where we're testing. So those things let us, and plus it's at the bottom of a big basin, the water tends to drain down. So those kind of things led us to test that area.
well, Bob, I'll share with you, you know that's where I live. I had my water tested.
Uh-huh.
You're welcome to those results. But everything was fine. And that's why I'm
If
wondering,
everyone felt like that, that would
Yeah.
be fantastic, because then, now, if we had to drill private monitoring wells to test groundwater in town every time we wanted to test, it'd be very, very, very expensive. So if we can cooperate with the residents and use their wells as straws into the groundwater, and then they get the benefit, of course, of getting the results, and we get the results. We would not publish the results, but we would be able to aggregate the results and determine if there is a problem there. Then next time around, we may pick another area,
but
maybe.
did the commission think of asking the residents in the area for test results if they had them?
Well, first of all, the test results are important, yes, but we also have to do a survey to see what their infrastructure is. Do they have filtering equipment? Do they have reverse osmosis? Do they have a different kind, do they have a dug well? Do they have a deep well? You know, a whole bunch of things that we would like to know. It would be hard to get.
But I just don't see where this has, I mean, again, if you felt that you didn't get the cooperation to get the test results when their wells were tested by the state.
Who's they now? Who's they?
You're saying that you said you didn't, you mentioned to David, if everyone was as cooperative as that, you said that you couldn't get those test results because they were private.
They are private.
Okay, so you couldn't get someone to just give you a copy of a test result, but you expect them to allow you to go and test their private wells.
The difference is that they had to pay for that test. When they got, this test would not cost them anything. That's the first thing. And of course, we don't know how many responded to that offer. We don't know the geographical dispersion, so we don't know how valid the results are. They might all be clustered in one corner. We'd have to do an analysis of that. We would like to test the things we want to test for, not what the homeowner tested for. And we would like to have them tested by a professional. Okay? Someone who does this for a living, goes in and knows how to handle the water. There's no contamination. The results are verified by a licensed lab. All of that is important.
That was how it was done by the state, Bob.
It was.
Yes, so
Yeah.
why wouldn't you just ask for the results?
Can I make a remark?
Yes,
on that?
please.
Another difference is that we're interested in the groundwater quality, not the water quality at the point of use.
Sure.
So the typical homeowner who's looking at their water quality will take the sample at the kitchen tap.
But it wasn't the homeowner that did the testing.
No, but they did it at
Either
the
way.
tap. At the tap. At the
Yeah,
tap.
I mean, if the concern is what are you ingesting, you sample at your kitchen tap, right? Whether the homeowner is doing it or the state's doing it. We're trying to focus on samples upstream of any treatment. So people who have a water softener, a reverse osmosis system, charcoal filters, whatever, we want to catch the water before it goes through that. So a lot of the results that people have in hand are not really what we're looking for too. So just another point, important point here.
It has to be
We want
organized.
to look at the water before it's been treated for.
It has to be an
consumption.
organized, systematic testing with professionals getting involved in it, testing every household for the exact same type of pollutants and so forth, so that when we analyze the results, we know they have some validity, not spot here, spot there, homeowner might have impacted the testing, who knows? So that's why we're doing it that way, David. We would like to have done it the easiest, cheapest way possible, but we also think accuracy is important.
And who's going to be doing this?
We're gonna be having a lab do it out of Milford. They have done some testing for us before, and they gave us a good price, and they're familiar with the town.
But they're the ones that are gonna come out and do the testing?
They are.
One other question, Bob. When we discussed it at the conservation meeting, I raised some questions about the legal consequences.
Yes.
And I would assume you talked to Mr. Buckley about if you do this testing,
Sure.
what should be done with that information, whether it should be disseminated or kept closed, or what the consequences might be in a legal sense.
We would we don't have to, because we paid for the test, okay?
Understood.
If we pay for the test, we have a right to publicize it, but we're not gonna. We're only gonna aggregate the results so that we can make some assessments and do some analysis, and we'll return the reports back to the individual homeowners, and we'll tell them we won't publish them.
Well, back up.
Sure.
You have to publish them. That is public funds being expended. They are subject to the right to know.
I don't think you have to publish them. You have to publish the results as an aggregate.
You don't have to publish them, but you have to make them available to anyone that asks for them.
We'll put them on record at the town office.
And that's fine, just as long
I
as,
have no problem with
just don't tell the owner that you're not gonna release
No.
the results.
Can you separate the identity of the?
Of course you can.
Right, you don't have to have the name of the owner on it.
Right.
No, but you would have the
Right.
address.
Yeah.
The Conservation Commission will not be involved in any dissemination of the detailed information. If the selectmen desire that if they want to have that information made public, then we'll give them a copy of all the reports and they can put them on file.
Okay, I just want to be
Sure.
clear,
No
Bob.
problem.
It's not a selectman issue, it's not
It's
a
state issue.
conservation.
It's a right to know law.
Exactly.
I understand.
Okay, good.
No problem, no problem.
Question is, do we wanna know?
The other question he raised is important. That whoever is responsible for the pollution is the one who has a legal responsibility, okay? If a gas station pollutes it, they have a legal responsibility, not the town. Even though people are drawing out of groundwater, it's not the town's responsibility, it's the state's responsibility to protect things like that, okay? If the town, for the last 20 years, has been putting certain kind of fertilizers on the playing fields out there, and it's gotten into the groundwater, and it's proven to be so by the state, well, that's a different problem. I don't think they've done that, but it's something to be aware of. Everything we do has consequences, and if we don't use due diligence, God knows. Any other questions?
Well, I would certainly like to know what the results were in aggregate anyway.
Sure.
I don't know about the other selectmen, but I think it's important we be aware that we have a groundwater problem or we don't in general.
Sure. And let me say this, the results this time around compared to the groundwater testing one that we did will probably be more accurately because of more sophisticated equipment, okay?
What do you mean by the ground testing one?
Well, I call this CVG, Central Village Groundwater Study 1, Groundwater Study 2. We did it once before.
The one 25 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right, that is correct. The town does not essentially have a liability, so I would not worry about that aspect of it. And even if the town did have a liability, then we're weighing public health against, do we want them to know? And that's not a good place to be either, for sure.
And what's this gonna cost us, Bob?
It's probably gonna cost something under $4,000.
And this is coming out of funds that you,
That we have for protecting the natural resources of the town.
What fund is that?
What fund is that? The conservation fund that we have, and also the current use fund.
Right, the current use fund, I thought had to go to protect land.
No, it protects their resources in general. And
Can you
in fact, when I called Steve Buckley, I said, now what monies can we use for that? He said, you can use your conservation fund money, the conservation
Did he
fund.
give this to you in writing?
They do not do that.
They do if you email, would you do me a favor,
Sure.
just for the record?
Sure.
Email it, your questions to him and they will respond by email.
I asked him if he would send out an email, and he said, well, Bob, he says, we don't like to give opinions, because then we get involved in the middle. I will try that to him, and if you're not happy with that answer,
Yeah.
the Conservation Commission will go and pay for legal fees and have it done by someone else.
Well, I don't think you need to go that step, Bob, but the New Hampshire Municipal Association's position has always been, you email them, they will respond by email. If you wanna call them and discuss something, we're able to do that.
Well, I asked him if he would respond, and he seemed reticent. He said, well, I don't know, we don't get involved. But I will email him and ask him if he will put that in writing.
I'm more concerned with the use of the current use tax money that goes back to the Conservation Commission
Yeah.
being used for well testing.
Well,
To
we're
me-
probably not gonna use that. Well,
Okay.
first of all, you gotta get, the terminology is important, the presentation is important. It's not well testing, it's groundwater testing, and we're using the wells to test the groundwater.
Okay.
Very important.
For groundwater testing, I would not think that the current use fee penalty by the RSA was allowed to be used for that.
Well, you can allay your fears, because this time around, we're probably not gonna use those.
That would be
We're gonna
terrific.
use the conservation fund to do that.
And if I correct me, that's the money that keeps rolling over every
That is
year if
correct.
you have,
That is
okay.
correct.
All right.
That is correct. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yeah, I do. Got some pictures. I got a call from a lady who went hiking on the Mustafa Nature Area Trail. And she was a little bit upset. And I don't blame her, kindly speaking. There's two pictures there. She called and said something to the effect that she felt that the trail was not properly maintained and that the parking was less than desirable. So I paid a trip to the site, and you may not have noticed it, but about 2.5 years ago, the highway department was nice enough to put up a sign that says Mustafa Nature Area, and it's on 124 on the way out of town. And the minute I got to that sign, I took a right and I saw the signs that were there, road closed, no through traffic. And it didn't make any sense to me that we were inviting people to go on town property to enjoy the hiking, but we say the road's closed and not
It
maintained.
doesn't say the road's closed. It says road not maintained by
Road not
town
maintained,
beyond
no
this
through
point.
traffic.
No through traffic.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
yeah.
You can't go.
You can't go. I drove down there in my truck because I took a wrong turn. I'm like,
Yeah.
you just
My
keep
point.
going.
It's my point in
Yeah.
the interest of time.
Yeah.
Those signs should be moved up past where the Mustafa Nature Area, parking area is, okay? Because, did you see the shape of what happened because it's not maintained? You have a gutter right down through the parking area because there's no culvert there and it comes roaring down the hill right through there and onto 124, so I would,
This is on the non-town maintained section.
well, the town maintained section is after that orange sign, right? That's what it says. It says road not maintained beyond this point. And the parking area is 250 feet up the road.
Okay, so we don't maintain the parking area? Okay, so where is this swale?
That swale is 250 feet beyond that sign.
Okay, so,
I would think if we're gonna expend funds and vote to purchase land for the use of the townspeople, they should have easy access to it. If you have a Jeep or a four-wheel drive, you can pull in the parking area, but if you have a little Vespa or something like that, you're never gonna get in.
okay, but you understand that the DPW can't do work on a Class 6 road
I understand that.
unless it's
okay?
an emergency.
I understand that, but they can do a culvert in a parking area.
They can do a culvert in a parking
Putting
area.
a culvert on the left-hand side of the road as you go up the hill would allow people to get into the parking area to park their cars instead of parking on the road.
Right, because I'm unfamiliar with this, Bob, I'll take a ride up there
Sure.
and meet with Peter.
Sure.
If it's an area that's within the town maintained portion
Yes.
and we can do something, by all means, we can do it.
Well, I mean, even if it's not in a town maintained portion, the parking area is on town land. The parking area is on town land, and
Yeah.
as such, we should be able to maintain the parking area. I don't care if the road's rutted, or, I don't know, do you plow that section of the road?
Gary?
Yes, and there is a culvert in the parking area, and historically it does get clogged up. I would assume you could probably repair it just by unclogging it. There is one in there.
Did you see the photo?
No.
Can you share that with
I have an idea
him?
what it looks like.
No, I'm just wondering, is that where it is?
Yeah.
Actually, the town, yeah, right there, yeah. Yes, pretty much where that ditch is where the culvert is. If you go to the upper end of that, I believe the culvert is there.
Where the sign says nature area?
No, in the picture with the back of the car,
Yeah, on the left-hand side it says nature area.
Yep. That's it. I didn't know there was a culvert there, Gary.
yes, there is.
There is, okay, it must really be plugged up.
Yeah, we've unplugged it a few times. It's just the leaves from the whole side hill come down through there. And they do plow past that because there's a house up beyond.
I thought there was.
The turnaround is at the house, at the driveway of the house. But yeah, I guess, I'm sure if Pete knew about it, he'd take care of cleaning that culvert out.
Thank you, Gary.
And sometimes the homeowner below that diverts that too, because that comes out in his backyard. Granted, that culvert was there long before his backyard, but that could be an issue too, maybe he's diverting it a little bit.
We're also gonna close part of that trail, just so that the public will be aware of it.
Down by the pond or the upper side?
The one that goes over the pond, the bridge there, the bridge is in horrible shape, and it's all mountain water, you can't get through there, so rather than have people complain, we just close that section. You gonna be there this month?
I think so. I've got a number of conflicts this month, but I will
You
try.
don't have enough hours in a week.
Let's get close to the truth.
We all set, David?
Not quite.
Okay.
What's this? And I know I'm gonna, SADES program that's on the agenda.
Oh, the SAGE program, that's a statewide asset data exchange system. And that was initiated in the first decade of this century as a result of all the floods that occurred in Claremont, Lebanon, Allsted, and so forth. The governor commissioned a group to go out and evaluate the culvert structures in the town, various towns, to assess them, to determine which ones needed remediation, replacement, or whatever. They did this because they found out that the policy of replacing culverts in kind was creating a problem, simply because things were changing in the watershed and the environment, and what applied 20 years ago is no longer applicable now. They also found that over a period of years, the culverts were deteriorating. So, long story short, they wanted to have an inventory of all the culverts in the state so they could make a determination how they affected geomorphically through aquatic organism passages, or it could be through condition on hydraulic capacities. We downloaded that layer from Southwest Region. So we have that inventory now online, and we'll be doing some assessment to see what's impacting the environment, what's having a negative impact, and maybe making suggestions or making requests to the selectmen to fix certain culverts. So that's what we're gonna use it for.
Is that the same thing that Southwest Regional Planning was doing for the town?
Southwest Regional Planning did the actual inventory, and now they're repackaging that inventory into a report. And they put that layer online at Granite, UNH, and it's free for the download. We downloaded it. It's a good program. If people could get trained in it, we could avoid some problems. We could avoid undersized culverts, as an example. Okay? We could avoid not submitting permits and have to do it after the fact. Because if you do the permit before instead of after, then you find out if you have a problem. Then you don't have to take things apart and put them back together. Because the state would have seen this is right next to it, right in a prime wetland. Red flags would have gone up, and they would have scrutinized that, and you would never get into a situation where an undersized culvert was put in.
Bob, you keep referring to an undersized culvert.
That is correct.
My understanding, it was not an undersized culvert. It was just that the culvert got replaced in kind.
No, that is, I don't know where you got that information, but it's totally inaccurate.
From our DPW director.
Well, it's inaccurate. I'm telling you right now, it's inaccurate.
Okay, what size culvert was there and what got it replaced?
If you read, I asked you if you read that document that they sent down with more information, and right in there, a term was used in the application by someone who made the application out from the town, that they used the word we have a design with oversized culverts. And in fact, DES was so irate about that phrase, oversized culverts, that they made them take it out. And right below that, in that report, they said, the culvert was severely undersized, and made no misunderstanding, it was at 32% of what it should have been. Okay, no doubt about it. What they put in was a box culvert. The box culvert is not to do necessarily with increasing flow and so forth. That's to do with the geomorphics of it and aquatic passages of it. That's why they want that put in.
But that has not been put in, but the culvert that was replaced is what I'm questioning. And I'll find the report.
The initial one was undersized. The design that was on the application to the state was also undersized. It wasn't much better. And geomorphically, it was no better at all.
The application to the state, Bob,
Yes,
is an after the fact.
I understand that.
Okay,
I understand that totally.
okay.
And in fact, they make a point in that report. They say, we do not take into consideration the additional expense to the town because they submitted an after fact and they may have to incur more expense.
That's not the point I'm making, Bob.
Okay.
The only point I'm making is, if the culvert that was there was a 5-foot culvert
Right,
and has been there for 50 years plus,
yes,
and that culvert got replaced with a 5-foot culvert,
yes.
it was replaced in kind.
Conceptually, that's,
Conceptually?
Concept-
No, we
yes.
call that fact.
Well, I don't call it fact, David. I don't
If
call
you
it.
replace a 5 or any
Oh,
diameter.
no. I'll agree with you. It was
Oh,
replaced-
okay.
I'll agree, it was replaced in kind,
Yeah.
but it shouldn't have been replaced in kind. It should have been upgraded severely. That's what I'm saying to you, okay? Because they didn't get an engineer until after the fact, you guys never found that out. They made a best guess, well, the one that was there was good, we put the same kind in, and we were wrong.
Well, Bob, have we ever had an issue with the culvert over there?
I had no idea. I wasn't involved in that at all. I didn't see.
No, but you're on the Conservation
Yes.
Commission, Bob.
Yes, yes.
You've been here during the floods.
I haven't been here 100 years.
You've been here during the floods.
Yeah.
You've been here through many 100-year storms. Has that culvert, to your knowledge, ever been an issue?
I do not know. I can't answer that question.
Okay.
How could I answer it? Yeah.
Well, as a Conservation Commission member, I thought you
Well,
gave us...
I don't know every culvert in town, and I don't know when they replace culverts, so I can't assess them after the replacement, because usually we don't get notification of it, so. I
Well,
don't
we know the culverts that got overwhelmed during the Mother's Day storm.
Yes.
Storm.
Yes.
And that's all I'm
Yes.
saying, is that was not
Yes.
one of them, so I was
I
kind
think
of
if I
curious.
can leave you with something, the policy of replacing it in kind
Mhm.
is no longer applicable. I think that the people, at least one person from the highway department, should go through that training so they know what the new standards are. And they probably will save the town money in the long run, because we'll avoid fines and avoid taking out culverts and putting them back in and that kind of thing. And we're willing to work with them, with the highway department, to look at the environmental aspects of it, or at least the geomorphic aspects of it. And we can't size the culvert, and we can't look at the hydraulic capacities, and we can't look at the condition of the culvert. We can only look at what we know. But we will gladly work with them and help the town out.
I guess I would have to say in what regard.
In regards, if Peter says, I wanna put a new culvert in, okay? We will go down and we will say, well, that culvert's a little bit skewed. Maybe you wanna straighten it this way, okay? So you don't scour the bank on that side, so that you don't create erosion on the outlet sides, so that you don't get a perched culvert. You know what a perched culvert is?
Mhm.
You don't get a perched culvert, because that's deadly for the wetlands and so forth. And that being a prime wetland, that's deadly for that. So the state's doing the right thing, you know. I know it's onerous to the town to have to go through the additional expense. We didn't create those laws. We had nothing to do with those laws. So, I mean, so when you ask me, I mean, did that culvert ever fail? I have no way of knowing. You'd be better to ask Peter that. Okay?
Very good, Bob. Thank you for coming.
Yeah. I'll talk to you Wednesday night.
Okay, police station surveys. Is that the tally?
Yep, that's a tally.
Is it, wow. Okay, we sent out 1,107 surveys,
1,107?
7, and we received back 417, which is a fantastic turnout, I think. At John's math is 38%.
38%.
tally on here is, first of all, for those of you that, like myself, need a refresher of the wording, the first one was, are you in favor of the construction of a new police station behind the town office? Or are you in favor of the construction of a new safety complex for the police and fire departments behind the town office? And
Yeah, I was just reading the
Yep,
comment.
that's fine. I'm gonna wanna do the same thing, but, just in summary, because there was also a place to insert comments, those in favor of a police only was 134. Police and fire was 189. Neither was 66. Under comments, purchase existing building, 8 people put that. 20 people put comments only. So, are these banded in that?
I think there must be. Let me see.
What would those be?
These appear to be comments only. There's I think
Okay,
one in here that's in.
so there should be like 20 there.
Just dropped off to be ready for the meeting? Oh, thank you, I think she said.
Okay,
Once it's Peter, do you want to
Okay.
talk to Peter, or just put in his box?
just leave it in this, if it's the same thing.
I think so, I'm not sure.
Okay. I guess some of these, because these have comments on.
Yeah.
I guess the question is, what is the general gist of the comments, or is it a range?
He said most of the comments aim towards current tax rates, or they need more information. Comments of what are the costs. I would need to know if federal and state money would be brought into the project, total cost of the taxpayer before making a decision. I do agree something needs to be done. We don't have enough information about your plans and costs to making decisions. These are too vague. Before I answer, I would like to know the reasons these are needed or wanted. I'm in favor of a new police facility, but quite frankly, how can I decide which is better situation without a breakdown of costs, benefits, etc.? Is there information on this anywhere? If so, it should have been on the survey. That is the first step. Examine the feasibility of both. Frankly, I find the survey waste of money. We need more information before we can make a decision. Can't comment without knowing economic impact. I would assume this is the result of tax increase, too high already. What becomes of existing fire station? How much is rent on current police location? Need more info. Would new PD cost 1.2? Would new fire cost 1.2, but combined cost 2 million total and save money? Does the fire department need a new building or location? The PD, I understand, are in a tough spot, so they do need something. I would like to see a study on using the second building as an option. Yes, there is mold, but mold can be removed. It's only been tried 3 times. There's not enough information here for us to have an opinion. Why ask the taxpayers? Are those the only options? For safety reasons, I would recommend keeping the 2 departments separate. Too much egress if you're all going to the same emergency. Should have finished building number 2. Someone told me there would always be mold in that building. The buildings were built on swampland. It was just covered over. My taxes are already too high. The reassessment probably increased them. You picked a bad year to put this on the ballot. We just had an election. This was shot down. It wasn't shot Taxes already high, want to retire but no break for 65. Yule school funds that are out of control. And,
Well, I haven't found any swearing yet, so I'm.
Yeah. Well, maybe they just.
I can
don't-
edit on the fly. Yeah.
Maybe they just want to put that in the mail.
I'm also concerned about the amount of money the school's overpaid. Take from them. New school building. Has that improved scores? I need so a whole bunch of stuff there. People in town are very concerned with our rising property taxes. In our opinion, buying that building that now houses a police department makes more sense. Negotiate the price down, purchase the building, make the repairs, expansions in phases. If a plan is put in place for completion, maybe a 5-year plan. The cost would be what is needed for the year. The people in town see $1 million figure and immediately say no, keep the cost at a minimum. As more space is needed in the present building, tenants will have to leave. For now, rental income is a plus for the town. Not sure what's the difference. The proposed new police station is too large for a small town. You need to provide taxpayers how much this will cost them. I do not think we need to have any more bureaucracy in this town. Police, fire, and town office personnel, a small addition to the existing town office for the police department would be sufficient.
That's close to a swear.
No jail cells. Just let them wander around the lobby. Buy the correct police station and fix it up in small increments instead of always trying to shove a costly mega project down our throats. Appleton Academy would make a good police station. Neither in favor of buying the existing building the police are in rather than renting. Buy the building the police are occupying. Neither we prefer the purchase and renovation of the current building. I'm in favor of buying the building where they are. Police should stay in the building where they are. In phase 1, purchase building. Phase 2, upgrade building. Clean and utilize second building or disband the police department. Remodel the current one. Neither we have a fire station, purchase a building for a police station that already exists.
All right. General.
Want me to go through another stat?
No, I think that's a good sampling.
That's only the ones, just comments. This pile here, are those that were in favor of a new police station behind the town office, although there are comments on here. I don't know that we're gonna read all these comments this evening out. But I guess what I'm hearing both from the comments there and the spread of the comments over the 4 different breakouts here is we need to come up with a plan with the costs. That should be in here. See, she's got these here as those in favor of the new police station, but some of these are not.
Well, it depends what box they checked off.
Right,
Yeah, it's like
so.
they checked a couple and then wrote something different in the thing.
Well, here's some that don't have a check at all.
Right. Wow, that's a beautiful statement right
There's no need or justification.
there. Yeah, don't read that one out loud. I mean, you can. It's up to you.
No.
Yeah.
Apparently the post office doesn't deliver anything.
Ding, 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 we have a winner.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is one of the ones. So this. I'm not in favor of either construction project. Look what Ashby has for police department. Ashby has already budgeted, I think, $2 million to study their new police department, and normally the studies are what, 1/3 of what they plan on spending. So now this is someone saying that they like Ashby's police department, which is a trailer, but Ashby's last year voted, I think, $2.1 million to study building their new police department. And I think normally the studies are about somewhere around 1/3 of what their final budget's going to be. So they're looking to spend around, somewhere near 6 to $10 million on theirs. So, yeah. So. There's more other small towns that have. Yeah, one second. I think either make use of, get rid of them all. There are a lot of people talking about renovating the current building. Too bad we couldn't have gotten the turnout.
I've seen a couple on here concerned with a fire safety complex here behind the building with multiple emergency vehicles exiting.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an issue that would have to be addressed engineering-wise.
Yep. Quite a few of them have said they weren't aware that we needed a new fire station. And if we don't, add it on later, plan for it.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you go into comments, because this is in favor of remodeling the old police station. Not the,
There's a bunch. They whited theirs out.
yeah,
Yeah, there's a whole bunch that it's pretty much a neither is what it is, so it should actually be over here.
yeah. What I am hoping is that we can pull this together and get these residences to come in so that we can address a lot of these items that they're asking for that I thought was addressed, but maybe just didn't do a good enough job, and let them know, trying to answer some of the questions that are on here.
Yeah, the informational part was perhaps a little weak. And there were a lot of countervailing opinions out there.
So what do you wanna, how do we take it from here? Yeah,
Well, I think you have a solid core of support, maybe, 30+% that wants a police station brand new. Or, potentially renovation of the existing station, purchase and renovation. I just don't know how you get to that 60% to pull a bond. I think you could get to 50% if you had the money in a capital reserve account, but I don't think you can get to the 60% on a bond issue.
we can get to the 60% and over, I think if the people understand what it is, while we engage them, as we've started to do here with the survey, most of them, I shouldn't say most, and that's why I'd like to go through and tally this again after we recategorize those that right now are shown as in the wrong pile. But I think with the fire complex, I don't know, we have a challenge to raise the funds for a police station. To raise the funds for a complex, I think, is even more challenging.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if
I
the
mean, that's why
plan
I,
is to design for it, that's one thing. But to,
But you actually had more people saying, the 134 for just the police station to 189 for an entire complex. You actually had more people
I
pushing
think,
in that direction.
I think they need to be looked at again.
yeah, because
But
once
it's-
you read their comments, I say it would have been in the other pile, it shouldn't be in the,
There were some, and there were ones
Yeah.
that were, depending on what it was, where it said comments only, when in all reality it should have been in the neither. Because the comment basically said no,
Yeah,
so,
I saw a lot of no
yeah.
comments in there.
yeah.
and a lot of the ones I was reading was saying that they didn't realize the need for a fire department. And I really don't know where that one came from. Did you guys hear from people during the
Yeah,
voting or whatever?
well, I mean, it was a small, slim piece that was saying that, why are we worrying about the police? They're fine. The fire department has outgrown their complex. And I think, I was not really in favor of that piece going on there, but it was one of the things that was pushed towards, I guess, as far as, because I think that was in the initial plan a couple years ago, I guess, was whether that was a safety complex back there or whatever. But, I'm just looking at trying to get us a place where our police department can be housed if that building sells before the end of the year.
I'm really not worried about that, John. I think that anybody who would purchase that would really want to maintain their tenants.
They might, at what cost?
I don't know what the cost would be, but I'm just saying.
Yeah,
that
no, and that's what I mean, it's like
I just don't think the time frame is as tight as you make it out to be.
I'm only going with the information I'm given. We can speculate the generosity, but I can only say what, that the seller plan, his plan is to get rid of it before the end of the year. He's already reduced the price after the election. If he gets a buyer, then we face the second issue, which is, will that person continue the rent at its current form, or will they raise it?
Well, there was another possibility raised, that I heard, and I don't know, I have not followed up on it, that the central school building where they've started all those little shops is now back on the market.
Yeah. At a,
I don't know what the cost is, don't know what the price is, but that's, now that the asbestos is theoretically removed, would that be a possibility?
there's tenants there.
Yeah, but I'm just saying,
Don't you think the building's a little big for a police department?
I think it's huge.
Yeah.
But it does have the space that they would need, and maybe a few other options like emergency management or such.
It doesn't have the Sally port.
Yeah, I understand
Yeah.
that.
And I'm sure with any property, there's gonna be positives and negatives.
Agreed, but it is a central location.
It is, but A, we don't have the funds for that. B, the funds for that would the cost for that would exceed what it would cost us to build one. And why would we take that building off the tax rolls?
We make the same argument there, taking that building up, that they're currently housed in off the tax rolls.
But the value of that is less than that.
I understand that, I'm just
That's all
saying,
I'm looking at it.
there are
Yeah.
options.
Yeah, there's always options, but trying to narrow it, we can stay and have a wide spectrum. If we don't get the public in here to address what the needs of the police station are, and address what options we'd like to propose and get their feedback, we're gonna be sitting here next year in the same.
I agree, and, overall, I've always felt that we needed a standalone, brand-new police station. And if you remember the charge that we were given by the selectmen when the police committee was formed, it said, get something for the next 20 years. Not.
Actually, I think it said 50 years.
You're correct. I was downplaying.
Yeah.
But, yes, but a renovated wood structure is not what I consider a modernized building. I mean, I know you can bring it up to some standards, some code requirements, but it's not the same as building exactly what we need.
But we'll never get the funding for it, Bert. I don't care when this last one, which was the most economical way I could envision getting this, didn't pass, I'm at a
Okay.
quandary over, we can present it to the voters, and I have heard that voters, one of their main things with that building was, as you just said, and I said regarding Central, was taking off the tax base. So we leave it on the tax base and we pay a little more we pay more to do it here. I, for one, would be in favor of that, to get rid of building 2, which is just an albatross here for the town.
My feeling is, I don't think you're gonna convince the voters at a 60%. I think you have a fighting chance of convincing them for a 50%, you can get a 50% vote. What I'm suggesting is, let's not push a police station or a fire station or a complex or purchase. Let's establish a capital reserve fund for future infrastructure, building infrastructure here in New Ipswich, and put a number on it, $500,000 a year, say, for talking purposes, for 10 years. and put it on a warrant article. And give, as part of that warrant article, give the selectmen, when we feel the funds are sufficient, the authority, as a unanimous board, to spend that money on buildings that are needed for the town. I mean, I know that's an odd way to do it, but I don't think you're gonna get a bond.
I can tell you this, Bert, just looking at what you just said, I, for one, would hands down vote against that.
Okay, that's fine.
You're looking at a $5 million project after 10 years of waiting for, let me finish, 10 years of waiting to get a police department facility that we need now.
I'm not saying wait 10 years. I'm saying start collecting that $500,000 over 10 years. But when we have sufficient to build a police station for 2 million, 2.2, 2.5, whatever it takes, and that fund reaches that level, then spend it. You're not gonna get the money to get a bond. I know we need it now. I would love to see us do it now, but I don't think you can raise the necessary support.
I don't see that we're ever gonna get support to raise the taxes $500,000 a year to put it into.
We did it for the streets.
We do it for the streets and they see immediately the benefit.
If you were gonna go out as a private individual and buy a home,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and you're living in the city in an apartment, you start putting money aside so that you have enough money for a down payment.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's basically what we need to do, except our down payment is gonna be 100%.
Now, we have done that. It's called the fund balance.
Right.
And the voters said no. They don't want to take it out of their savings. So going and putting it into another fund that you're raising $500,000, I don't know how.
I agree we need something. I absolutely 100% agree that we need something. And it would be great if we could get it tomorrow, or at least start the process for buying the thing tomorrow. How do we convince the voters? That is the biggest hurdle I see.
Well, I think if you
The-
read these here and they tell you,
They'd say mostly no.
no.
No, it's
I don't
not-
have a preference for a police station, with or without a safety complex. All my family wants is a new police station for the town of New Ipswich. And I mean,
And
You can read-
a lot of them are, I don't have the information, I don't know the cost. And that's the thing, is like, you know, I wanted, you know, to put forth, let's recost the police station that we had, because that was the piece that kept coming out in the last election is, why are we taking one off the tax rolls when we have property behind town office? Okay,
Yeah.
but we don't have a cost for that anymore because the cost we had is 3 years old or
Agreed.
4 years old. So if we're going to do that, that's to me that's the next step. Is if that's what we're going to do, which I think makes the most sense, because you know, whether we bought that and so if we bought the Giamo building, that takes something off the tax roll. If we bought the dairy facility that was proposed, that took something off the tax rolls. This puts something that is currently sitting unused on town property, it puts that into use.
Okay,
You know, so what is the current cost on that?
Well, we're not talking taking a lot off the tax rolls. The Giamo building is taxed at about $6,500 a year. That's it. And we're talking about spending $2 million, which is a comparative drop in the bucket.
Then I guess my whole thing is when all those people were complaining about that, then that information should have been given out. You know, they're saying, "Oh, don't take something off the tax rolls. $6,500." Compared to how much are we spending in rent on that building every year?
18,000.
Right. So, yes, we're taking 6,500 off and saving 12,000.
And then,
So,
I think that was one of the points the police chief made is,
right,
you know, the town is paying the taxes.
yeah, pretty much.
so, but, you know, again, I mean, I think that's the piece is, you know, unfortunately, we sit here, Ron spends his time recording us and putting us online, and we sit here and we spend our time, and instead of people watching this and getting their information, getting correct information, you battle all the keyboard politics of social media, and you can only battle it so much. And so I don't know. I mean, and that's anytime I look at these where we talk about getting people involved in want to be active in town, trying to get correct information out is, you know, how do we do it? And we do our website, we do Facebook, we do, you know, we have the meetings online, but that's not what people are watching, unfortunately. And that's what we're going to continue to battle ourselves going forward. But I look at it as, okay, if they want to know what the police department costs, well, we have the plans. So we would just have to update that and go, okay, this is what it would cost you for the new building.
I mean, we had a price tag of $2 million back in 2015, 16.
I think it was 1.9, 1.8,
No,
something like
1.98.
that. Yeah.
2 million, call it 2 million.
Yeah.
We've had a cost of living or growth factor, call it 5%. Let's assume we got a 15% increase on the cost on a $2 million building. That adds $300,000 to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we go out, we request a bond for $2,300,000 and say this is what we believe would be the price tag, and I mean that's not unreasonable. And we disseminate the information pretty much right across the board. This would be the increase in your taxes. This is what it will cost us to build this thing. These are the parameters of the building. We have a fairly decent, footprint of it. If I recall, in the original cost estimate, $300,000 of that original $2 million was for infrastructure, parking, rearranging the front, and so forth, drainage, some little stuff, but it was a good sized chunk of change. So I mean, we can put that out there if you really want to go that direction. But, if we do so, we lay out all the numbers for how it's going to cost. You'd probably be thinking a 20-year bond for that much, or would we look at a 10-year?
Before we would worry about bonds and costs, would it be prudent to say, hey, in June or whatever, we hold a meeting at, the high school or High Bridge, flood the market with invitation to come ask you questions. We wouldn't have cost to present to them at that time because we're trying to garner feedback, and at least let them ask, well, what would you anticipate the cost would be, or are we better off here versus there, and at least get a better sense. This, I think, was great, getting that feedback. But when I'm reading just through that small stack, there were many people that asked questions.
They did.
So this would give them the opportunity to come in, ask, and we can have a dialogue back and forth, and then take it to the next step.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I got reading a lot of them is, it was either neither, or they felt it was a, one was the example that was on there was asking someone, so have you stopped kicking your dog? How do you answer that? Well, I don't like this, I don't like this. We've already answered the question no. Not really. You answered the question no on this plan at the polls this year, you know. But while that was going on, everyone was saying this. So we tried to address this, you know. So we're you know, but you know, we all agree, and you know, and those people that don't understand that something has to be done, those are the people we have to inform that they're saying stay where you are. Well, we may not have that option. And that's what we have to understand, is that we may not have that option. So,
Well,
and
the
so
only thing I disagree with Dave is that we need to go in armed with the best information we can muster. This is what it's gonna cost, this is what it's gonna be square footage wise, this is what it's going to do to your taxes. And if we have a number and a direction, I think we're better off than going in and just trying to answer questions in a vague sense.
I think even, I'll be honest, I think even if you use the numbers of a house built, you know, like I said, if it's construction costs and you know that there's been an approximate 15%, then okay, this is what it was costed out 3 years ago. This is approximate, but it's approximate. At least we can answer that. I don't think we have to have it. Because again, we could give them every dollar today. And then you could have a change in the market in 3 months. The price of construction goes up. And then they go, well, that's not what you told us 6 months ago. Or that's not. So I think if you just say, hey, this is what it was. These are approximations. I think that is at least a good idea. And tell them, this is why we went for this. Look, we all felt at the time that the Giamo building was the most feasible, cost-effective option that we had on the table. It was voted down. So we are now looking at the next best feasible, cost-effective option.
And I agree that the Giamo building was a cost-effective option. It did what it needed to do. It wasn't great, but it did what it needed to do. I'm willing to, you know, move the pointer upward and look at a brand new police station again, and if that's the direction the board chooses to go, I'm willing to support that. And I understand we need to do something, but we need to pick one direction, not 2 or 3.
No, and I'll agree. I filled mine out. I'm not in favor of safety complex. I think we still have time on the property over there in the fire department. So I'm not in favor of a safety complex at this time. But I am in favor of, okay, if we put something on that piece of property, make sure that we can do another phase at some point, whatever it may be, but we do another phase and we make sure that the property can accommodate that. But I am not in favor of a safety complex at this time. I am in favor of a police station.
I'll go with that.
Yeah, I agree.
But I like your idea of if we could get a good turnout, answer all these people that say, I need more information. Well, why are we even doing this? This is a waste of time. You know, I look at it, is it going to be a waste of time when we're spending, hopefully we don't, if we're spending $30,000 a year on renting a police station instead of $18,000, and people are going to go, why'd my taxes go up? Well, they wouldn't have gone up as much on a bond as they did now that the rent's gone up.
And if we were renting a facility that was a police facility,
Mm-hmm.
that's one thing. But when we're renting an office building that doesn't accommodate the police facility we need, that's what I'm against.
Yeah.
So how we do it, it doesn't matter, you know, but I'd like to hear from the people to say, ask me your questions. We'll give you the best answer we can with the information we have. Fine if we want to put an escalation factor on a 2016, 17 price, whatever it was. That's great, but I really want to be able to be in a room and say, ask me your questions. We want answers so that they understand, so that it's not through social media that they thought they read this and understood it this way. That is the,
And that's what I think. I think the chief did a great job in his video. I felt he did a really good job answering as many questions as possible about that building. So I am completely in favor if we can get a meeting like this happening and get a good turnout.
That's fine. What do we have in June?
I'm just wondering if June's gonna be too late. Do people already start
Vacation?
vacations and plans and whatnot?
You know, I guess it all depends. I think
Excuse
what-
me.
School's out. I think the second full week of June.
Hmm.
That's when school lets out.
I'm it's pretty much open for me.
And if we want to do it on a Tuesday night, I mean, the only issue you have is that obviously right around that time the Messinic has a bunch of stuff happening as school comes to a close. So,
What about the other schools?
um,
Well, Boynton doesn't have a meeting place, right?
yeah,
It's just the library.
right. And on Highbridge, it's just that multi-purpose room, which they normally set up
Would have to
chairs.
set up chairs for.
Yeah.
I mean, what would you expect for a turnout? 100, 200?
What I'd like to see or what I'd expect?
Expect.
I don't know. I would like to see everyone that's filled this out, for one.
Yeah, we got 400 people there. I would like that, you know.
I mean, that would be nice, but, I mean, what
I
do
mean-
we see at like the deliberative sessions? Those, 150 people?
Not even.
Half.
Probably between around 50, 75 people at a deliberative session. But I mean, if we could get at least, a 30% turnout, which is average voter turnout for us, I think that would be nice. Which would be under 400.
Can you check on
Somewhere in
what
there.
the school schedule is?
I can see if I can find something out, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if something like the 28th,
They
which
should be
is after
done
Memorial Day, May.
May.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. 28th, that's in June? That's a.
No, May.
May, okay.
May. I'm trying to see if we can do these things so that we're not scrambling next September, October. Get the feedback and then start the planning.
Hmm. Another biggie or one we should at least broach, what do we have, the budget committee, finance committee, whatever it is? Don't they usually look at something like that for a budgetary item?
They're the Finance Advisory Committee,
Yeah.
or Budget Advisory. They're gonna be looking at the budgets.
Yeah, I mean, but this would be, no?
I'd
just like to see their support too in something like this.
I'm speaking from when I was on the Finance Advisory Committees. You're just advisory and it was just the town budget.
Yeah.
Not that, it's not like the Budget Committee that
Yeah.
had to put the budget together.
Yep. Okay.
And I'm thinking, it's really the residents that I wanna hear from, just see what's,
At this point, there's nothing on the calendar listed for that, for the 28th.
okay.
It's just volleyball. Just a volleyball game at the gym. So, and it may not even be. Yeah, so there's a volleyball game that evening.
So you wanna try for the 28th?
28th is okay by me.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Tuesday night. Yeah. That's fine.
Can at least try.
Yep.
And if,
Let's see, just,
7 o'clock?
That'd be fine.
Yep.
So if this is available, we're gonna have to start getting everything posted and whatnot as quickly as we can.
Yep.
Since the two gentlemen have been waiting so patiently here, I'm assuming you're here to discuss South Cemetery? Uh, What I would like to do is, there are two reasons the board is gonna need to be going into non-public, and one of them is to discuss legal items, which pertains to the South Cemetery. So if you can be patient a little longer, we'll go into a non-public, and then we can,
Ollie made the suggestion, if this were to wait till next week, it's really not a problem. Is that correct?
while you're here, I'm thinking it would be best, we only have two other items on the agenda to well, actually three, I got one on here, but three quick items to go through. So if you've waited this long, another 10 minutes.
Out the door we go.
No, you can stay.
Oh, I thought it was non-public.
No, these are public.
Yeah,
Oh.
These are public
but
items.
one of the non-public includes you,
Yes,
so you'd be able to stay for that, and
yes.
then you can leave.
Yeah, swear your secrecy, that sort of
Okay.
thing.
One of the things on the agenda is discuss updating the Family Medical Leave Act section of the employee manual and to review the manual as a whole. That was one of the things that, on recommendation of council, there were items in there. That one being one, and there was another one about the discrimination, the way to update that. They pointed out we haven't updated it since 14, and that should be updated. I didn't ask them what the cost would be for them to handle that, so I'd like to know if the board, because at least a couple of those issues, and have them review it in its entirety and at least tell us, hey, if there's something in there that we don't have right, that we need to correct, then let's look at it.
Yes.
It's
that
a
okay?
legal document, I would
Yeah.
think we would want an
Yeah.
attorney to
Yeah,
look at.
yeah, definitely. I mean,
Okay.
it protects us if we have to
Yep.
go to court, so, because I'm assuming we require the employees to sign that, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then review their comments for changes to
Yep.
make sure it doesn't go outside the bounds of reason.
So I'll contact them and try and get that set
Sure.
up. I just had it on here as an item. I forwarded to you the utility pole licensing documents that Jim had forwarded to me.
Yeah.
I haven't read them. If you can just go through them, we can
Did
discuss
a
it next
quick-
week.
Quick perusal, change names, protect the innocent, and have Laurie do that, and we'll just sign them off.
I'd like to review it first, see whether it's something the town needs to do, or what I think it's best if we can read them, and then we'll discuss it next week.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. The one other item I had on the agenda, which I will say I didn't pick up on until last night while, trying to go to sleep, so I thought it'd be some RSAs. Heritage Commission is similar to the Conservation Commission in that their unused budget is supposed to accrue. And we didn't do that last year. So, going forward, we need to do that. And I was going to notify the town treasurer because she'll need to set up an account for that.
What sort of
So-
budget are we looking at?
It was only $500.
Jesus, blast.
But, when you have a budget of 500, if you don't use it for 3 or 4 years, and
You
then all of a
destroy it.
sudden you have something,
Yeah.
it's good to have it there,
Yeah, they could use it, buy a ladder and get up into that attic in the old schoolhouse.
For those of you that we did have a meeting posted for last night in which the Heritage Commission and the Board of Selectmen did visit the old town hall across from the church and are looking to, currently the sill is being, a section of the sill of the building is being repaired, and the board wants to look at turning that building into something that we can use. It's gonna be a process in that we need to look at water, sewage, and some ancillary repairs inside, but it's,
We're taking the first step.
yeah.
Sill is being repaired. So. And I think basically we discussed one of the next steps is getting an actual survey of the site, so we know where the pins are, so we know what the lines are, so we can even look at what our options are for.
Are we gonna do that, or were you going to?
I'm going to take care of that.
Okay.
I've got Debbie doing some research for me on that.
Okay.
So when I get back next week, I'll jump on that, weather
Okay.
permitting. Just got a couple items real quick.
Okay.
Tomorrow night, the planning board is meeting with Kent Brown. He is actually coming in, not a video conference. and he's just gonna discuss, you know, fees and other stuff and so forth, so anybody who's interested, whatever. And we also got a request from a Mr. Thayer at 293 Main Street. He has some problems or issues with things the town had promised him to do back in 1993. I think we forwarded an email to you on that.
It was in,
Is it in the folder?
it was in a stack of stuff.
He wanted to come in and talk to the planning board, and I said to John Shumloffel that it was not a planning board issue, it was more of a selectmen's issue. If we had obligations, that he should appear before us.
Is that the one to do with Boynton? The runoff from Boynton?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, yeah.
That's the one.
Can I see that?
Oh,
Is that
yeah.
it?
Keep it. That's it. I'm not sure is the gist of it. There was some email flurry back and
Yeah,
forth.
and from what I read, I didn't see where
I
there was
didn't-
anything we were supposed to do.
I couldn't determine what he, you know, but he's apparently kind of irate about it, so I'm not sure what our obligations are or are not. But I suggest he schedule something with us rather than the planning board. Hang on to that, Dave.
Yeah.
It's not that
There's a
critical.
copy. But the thing is that's on there, but it's all, there are two other people involved in, that wanted to come talk to us about that same piece of property. So I guess that has to do with the sale of the property across the street is not, somebody's backed out on it for.
Oh, so this is the one that's in the letter from Mr. Sommer.
Yes.
Oh, when you said there in Main Street, I'm,
Well, that's, I guess, yeah.
It's kind of an ongoing battle
Yeah.
of some sort.
okay.
All right.
That's it.
Okay. So, motion to go into non-public under RSA 91